What's up guys, Spin Firearms here. Now that I've put an adequate amount of rounds through my HK P2000, we are going to be doing the full review on it. But before we get started, let's make sure it's cleared and safety checked. Obviously those mags are clear, as is the firearm. I always safety check prior to the video, but we all know how YouTube is. And also before we get started, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, subscribe, tell me what you carried today, what kind of holster, what kind of defensive ammo. Also, tell me your thoughts on this HK pistol. Now, I got this for $500 from Palmetto State Armory. And on top of that, it came with 6 mags. 2 in the box and 4 came from the rebate, which is absolutely amazing. $500 for an $1,000 pistol plus 6 mags. That is an awesome starter kit for anyone getting new into firearms. It's also just great for range training and not having to constantly load your mags. Now, this firearm is a subcompact, but it is larger in every way than a Glock 27, right? This is chambered in 40, just like a Glock 27. It's thicker, it's wider, it's heavier, it's longer, it has less capacity than a Glock 27. And what I mean by less capacity is, they're both 9 plus 1 setups, but the Glock 27 comes down to about here. So it's shorter, could technically fit more capacity for the overall length of the HK. Now, notice this does not have a manual safety. It also does not have a trigger safety. Your safety is that long double action trigger pull, which is very smooth, is very clean, and very predictable. Or you can run it in single action. I do not run it this way, and I will not run it this way. The trigger is too light, too short, and I can't be walking around and carrying it like that. The double action trigger pull is just fine. Now that single action trigger pull is going to look like this. Ready? Super crisp, right? Reset is a little bit long, but very crisp and clean. Shooting this thing was so manageable. It was amazing. Ready? This is that single action trigger pull. And now let's do that double action trigger pull. This is your safety when you don't have a manual safety on a hammer fired pistol like this. Long reset, but obviously it would be in single action after that first double action trigger pull. Now it comes with 3-dot sights that are very usable. They are not night sights, they're just white sights, but very accurate, on point. They're in the right spots. And like I said, it does have that decocker. So the way I've been running it is I'll rack around in the chamber, decock it, and now I'm good to go. Now I'm good to carry. It comes with 2 9-round mags, good texturing on the side, even though you don't notice it. Honestly, you do not feel this when shooting. It's mostly about this awesome like sandpaper texture on the back, and also a little sandpaper texture in between the finger grooves. Now, as far as ergonomics go, it's not the most comfortable firearm in the world. I'm not going to lie to you. I put the long, bigger back strap on it because I like filling my palm swell. And then that's how your fingers sit. You get 2 fingers in there, and then this pinky is sort of an awkward spot. You can either go underneath or up top. To me, it reminds me of the Springfield Armory XDM where you have that mag well. So I just put my fingers like that. It locks them in just well. Your fingers are a little cramped in there, but at the same time, it does its job. It has a rail on it, unlike the Glock 26 and 27 and that whole series. It has ambidextrous controls. So this is just another one of those firearms out there. If you are left-handed, this is a firearm that I would consider 100%. The controls run like butter, right? Racking that slide is like butter. Now notice how tall this slide is. Also notice how thick this slide is. And plus you gotta just, imagine all the controls inside and so on. This firearm is so easy to shoot. I was shooting only hollow points out of it like 2 days ago. Literally only hollow points, and it ran everything. It ate everything up. Didn't have a single issue, nothing. And now what I noticed is I was shooting my Glocks and my PSA dagger and my Hellcats. And then I started shooting this. What I did notice is a completely different grip angle to the point where it is completely noticeable. You notice when you go to extend that with this, you do have to make adjustments if you're used to carrying Glocks and stuff like that. But if your main carry is the HK, you'll be just fine. But just take notes that this firearm is different than a Glock and stuff like that as far as getting on target. But it's not a bad thing. It's very easy and very manageable. One feature about this firearm that I absolutely love is that large trigger guard. It gets cold where I live, and I wear gloves. So being able to put my Magpul gloved finger in here and not accidentally pull on the trigger is the way to go. The finish is quality. You can already tell you're not going to have rusting or anything like that. It's going to show its scratches and it's going to show it, getting beat up, but that's just part of being a carry firearm. It's going to get beat up. It just is what it is. Like I said, all the controls run great. It has a paddle release. So instead of a button release like on a Glock and stuff, the good part about a paddle release is it's much harder to accidentally release that mag. Like while I was getting used to all the controls on this thing, it actually took me a while to realize how I'm gonna, normally I go here with it, right? But now you gotta move your hand a little bit more to get that mag out. But other than that, it functions, right? Slide stop, stops it, and you can release. Some Rugers and stuff like that, you cannot release the slide using the slide stop. But everything just runs and everything functions. The recoil is much better than a Glock 27, I will say. This honestly feels like you're shooting a 9mm. I don't know what they did. I don't know if it's a spring system or if it's just how heavy that slide is and stuff. But that recoil is so tamed in 40. It's unbelievable. I could only imagine if you got this in 9, how amazing it would shoot. So this is absolutely a great firearm. But like I said, it did take some getting used to. Even that trigger pull being so nice, it's just different. It's just a very different trigger pull, so you do have to get used to it. And also the shape of it's a little different, right? But overall, a good shooter, a good trigger. I wouldn't say it's the best trigger in the world or anything like that, but it's a good overall trigger. I would say if you were getting a first firearm and you wanted a 40, this would be the way to go. Because something like this that handles recoil that well is really going to get you shooting this really well. And once you transition into 9mm or something like that, or larger 40s, it's going to be like shooting the same exact thing. So a great overall firearm, still very concealable, still very short, but it's more similar in size to, I'd say, like a Glock 30, for instance, or a Glock 29. It's just thick like that, it's heavier like that, and so on. And I did notice while carrying this, compared to my Glock 27 and so on, you do notice you're pulling up your pants a little bit more. It is a little heavier, especially when it's fully loaded. I do want to tell you guys though, I ran Civil Liberty Defense rounds and Underwood Extreme Defenders, which are my favorite rounds to carry in 40, and they both functioned flawlessly. Shooting the Civil Liberty Defense rounds out of this, honestly, felt like shooting 9mm target ammo. It's unbelievable. There is no recoil, it's so flat shooting. Now, as far as accuracy goes, I'm still learning this firearm. I was not as good with it as I was hoping I would be. I'm much better with my Glock 27 just because I'm so used to it and carrying it and so on. But it's just going to take some time to get used to because this firearm is different. Now, it's very cool, very well designed. It's one of those firearms that's a tank. It's meant to last a lifetime. It's meant to take a beating. It's meant to be tortured and still run when you need it to. So I absolutely trust my life with this thing. Like I said, though, compared to nowadays when you have stuff like the Hellcat that's so thin, tiny, and you have 15+1 on the right, and on the left you have 9+1 but a 40, it's a lot of people won't carry this. But in my opinion, this is one of the best size firearms you can get. It's still very easy to conceal, still very easy to shoot. It still very well is a fighting pistol, and you will be able to defend yourself with this pistol right here. So I absolutely love it. And if you want more capacity, it does take the Big Brother mag, so I think you can get a 12-round mag and so on for it. So that's always an option too if you want it to be your home defense as well. So just a good overall shooter, and for $500 you cannot beat this. Like I said, this will last me a lifetime. This will run forever. Chances are I'll be handing this down to my kids, and it'll still be running flawlessly. So it's just a good overall firearm. And like I said, if it was $1,000, I probably wouldn't have got it. But for being $500 and being HK, being reliable, and the fact that they test majority of their firearms using 40 says a lot. A lot of these firearm companies test their handguns and their designs and stuff like that mostly using 90 or 9mm. They tend to use 40. So therefore, all that extra power and beating down of your firearm is going to still last. So that's why I absolutely love the fact that it's chambered in 40 and produced by HK. A good overall shooter, like I said. Is it going to be in my top 5 carry rotation? For right now, no. I just got to get better with it. It's that simple. The trigger takes some time to learn. Also, the ergonomics, like I said, it's a little different of a firearm than your average Glock and so on. But a great shooter, great pistol. Nothing bad to say about it. I'd probably rate it an 8 out of 10 if I had to give it a score. Thanks for watching, guys.